All right.
Oh my gosh, this is a first.
Guys, welcome to... I don't even know what to call this, like T&C Talking Time?
Is this like a pod? I feel like Joe Rogan. Is this a podcast?
It's like our cheap version of a podcast. Guys, welcome to whatever we're going to call this. I don't even know. Like, Tim, have you even thought of a name of what we should call these?
Not really. I mean, I guess Tim, Charlie, and Celina talk. I don't know.
Hot takes.
Hot takes. Like, I don't even know, but maybe Wes will have a good name.
Hot takes on 30-year-old anime.
Aw, yeah. It's hot and I'm taking it.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Cut that out.
We'll let Wes decide what gets to stay, I guess. So, guys, today we want to do this little thing where we just discuss our thoughts and feelings and reactions to things that we like love and watch and enjoy, whatever. I mean, I want to keep it kind of vague so we can do whatever we want in the future with this, I guess. But yeah, so it's like a bonus episode of the show, kind of. But today we are talking about Neon Genesis Evangelion. It's obviously like a huge show and it's very well known, especially in Japan. And it's made like a resurgence recently too, because obviously last year in 2019 it was added to Netflix in America. I don't know if it was in Europe also, but I know it was in the States, obviously, because that's how we've watched it. But originally...
Well, hold on. I didn't watch it on Netflix.
Oh, really?
That's how I did.
Yeah, I watched the 95 dub.
Oh.
Or not the 95, but the 90s dub.
I heard that Netflix butchered the dub, but I watched the subs, so I'm not really sure how bad it was.
See, this is interesting because, yeah, I watched the Netflix sub as well, which means we each are going to have different takes on this, actually. Because I've heard that I've heard Netflix butchered the dub, or the sub, but I've also heard that, like, the original dub was, like, notoriously terrible, wasn't it?
I thought it was fine.
Was it? Okay, maybe I'm misremembering. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. But, okay, this is interesting. This is a new dynamic then. So just briefly, I just want to put out there, like, what the crediting and stuff like that. So, Evangelion was released by Studio Gainax, of course, as many people know. The original run was from October 4th, 1995 to March 27th, 1996. There are 26 episodes in total, I believe, and I forgot to put that down,
sure.
But I think that's close at least.
I'm pretty sure that's it.
Yeah, it's 26.
Okay, the original run was followed by two films, both in which were in 97, and they were dubbed, I don't know if it was retrospectively or retroactively dubbed the revival of Evangelion, but this is from Wikipedia, so like that's what they said, so take it or leave it. Then there were 4 films that followed those beginning in 2007, and those are, I think, more formally referred to as the Rebuild of Evangelion. And then there are 4 of those. Like I said, the most recent release was 3.0 plus 1.0, Thrice Upon a Time is the title of it. And I said release, but it was actually slated for June of this year, but it was delayed with no current release date scheduled. So it was actually scheduled for June 27th of this year, so literally like a few weeks ago.
Lots of fanboys be angry about it.
Sure, I'm sure, but hey, just like everything else in 2020, it's got canceled, so I can't, we can't really, we can't be too surprised, but, I mean, that's all I have for background information. Tim, you were the one who was chomping at the bit about wanting to, like, react, so I don't know, man, do you just want to, like, take it away a little bit? Do you just want to talk about, like, how you're feeling?
Yeah, sure. I have heard, how good Evangelion is, and it's one of those things where I was eagerly awaiting it, and I was watching it, and I really, really loved it until about episode 25. And because it's basically, for those who don't know the story of Evangelion, it's watch the series because I can't explain it, but it's a giant mech anime that doesn't go the normal route and was revolutionary for its time. So, put that in your hat and go watch it, and then come back to this.
Yeah, honestly, like, it's actually a good point, because I forgot to mention that I think we should say this early on that like we are gonna this is an all open season. Like this is gonna be all the spoilers we want. We're gonna discuss as much as we want because we've all seen it and this is our reaction. So for anybody who hasn't seen it, obviously now is a good time to maybe stop and go watch it. If you're worried about spoilers or anything like that, please go watch it now and then maybe come back to this a different time because yeah, I think it's important that we can just like discuss whatever we want, you know what I mean? Because that was something too that you know, like I mean like you said, Tim, I think yeah, a lot of people probably have a very similar reaction because like I feel like you have to have that reaction. You know what I mean? Like I feel like this is that like just when I hadn't seen the show up until last year because I had watched it last year in the summer, and you guys actually have seen it before or like much more recently than I have.
Yeah.
But that was all I had known about the show was that you know it's notorious for having this terrible ending that is just like a 180.
That they spent a bit like so many movies trying to fix.
Right. So it's like that's all I knew about it, and then. You know, to have watched it, like, I understand now, I get that. My feelings about it, I think, are different. I don't hate the ending. I don't really hate the ending, but,
Well, which ending?
That was what I was gonna get to next. So, I have seen the first movie. Tim, what have you seen post the show? What have you seen movie-wise? Have you seen any of the movies?
Yeah, I've watched End of Evangelion.
Oh my god, I haven't watched any of the movies.
Okay.
I plan to.
So that's interesting because Celina has a different take than both of us too because after I watched the movie I had a different reaction. You know, it was I was just
That's why I want to
different.
watch the movies because I love the show so much. I love the show so much that the ending made me want to throw my flip-flop at the TV.
Celina, what was your reaction? Like, what was your initial just like taking it in?
Loved it a whole lot. Literally everything about it, from the art style to like. Obviously, the show was very ambiguous with its like symbology on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny to me too, coming to find out that the director was like, "Yeah, I just used all this religious symbolism because I thought it looked cool." Like it wasn't even meant to really even be taken serious, but they play it off in a way that kind of it's all up to interpretation, regardless of what I think. I think it's up to interpretation. There's probably some fanboys out there that eat me alive for saying that, but no, I genuinely loved all the characters. I know a lot of people complain about Shinji being a whiny little bitch, but I would be too if I was in his situation. I look forward to seeing the beginning of the first movie, because we all know what happens there.
Oh my goodness, I hate it. Oh.
It's been a minute since I've watched it, so I'm trying to remember some names here.
Yeah,
I hated Asuka.
You hated Asuka?
I hated Asuka.
Oh, she was my favorite until about, like, the last, I don't know, couple episodes.
Yeah, she was, I couldn't stand her. What was, like I said, it's been a second since I watched it. The chick that takes care of Shinji.
Katsuragi.
Yeah, her. I loved her. She's best character, 10 out of 10.
Yeah, she's great.
She reminds me a lot of myself.
I liked her a lot too. Actually, Celina, since I haven't seen it since last summer, I gotta really work hard to remember the names as well. But yeah, it's like Asuka grew on me. I would say as a character. Like at first, I really hated her, but the same thing can be said about Shinji. And actually, I wanted to mention. I don't know if you guys remember, and I don't know what episode this is on because I'm pretty sure I mentioned this in one of our episodes. But when we were recording back in I think it was like August of last summer, I told you guys, I was like, so I watched the first 2 episodes of Evangelion, and I hate Shinji. He's such a whiner. And I like said that on the episode, and it's so funny because like the more you watch of the show, I think the more I don't know, you appreciate Shinji for who he is and for like, you know, I don't know, what he's going through. I don't know. I don't know. That also brings up a good point too. Like, Tim, if you had to sum up the plot, like, I don't know. This is also a reaction thing too, so I don't mean like sum up the plot, necessarily, but like if you had to, like, what did you take away from it as like the themes? Like, what did it mean to you, I guess, thematically?
Children pilot robots and everyone's mentally ill.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's the classic saying of, getting the fucking robot, Shinji. A lot of... I've always seen that meme, and I watched the show and fully understood.
I think one of my reactions to the show, I made a Snapchat of it and sent it to people, and it was in the late episodes, and the quote I put on it was just, everybody hates everybody and everything stopped making sense.
Yeah, it was really weird.
I see. It's tough because, like, I think the reason I really started the reason I fell in love with the show was like what you guys kind of mentioned too, is that like artistically it's extraordinary. I love the designs. I love the art direction so much. The designs of the Evas are just, oh my goodness, they're so iconic. There's something about and Celina and I have discussed this before, but there's something about the world building of Evangelion that really like just enamored me, because one of the things I mentioned to Celina is that, they have like an action plan for the angel attacks. They build this world where in a lot of anime where you have like mass destruction and stuff, there's a lot of like, I don't know, talking it away or just sort of like doing without it. Like the monster comes, destroys the town, and then next episode, oh, everything's fine. The town is rebuilt. Well, in Evangelion, they literally have an answer to that. Like, they literally show how they've developed this town where, the whole thing, literally, the main buildings go underneath the ground. They are constantly rebuilding infrastructure. Like, they have this plan. And to me, that immersed me. Maybe it sounds silly or it's maybe frivolous, but like, that was a detail that I was just impressed by how well thought out that was.
I do love too, though, that even though they have everything planned out and they've got all these ideas as to what to do, there's still a feeling in despair with it, because you can tell it's just humanity grasping at straws, because there's no way that they can really make it through all this.
Oh, absolutely. And see, that's the thing too. That's what I love about Evangelion, is like, it's so real in the way, it's so believable. It's like, yes, I believe that this is our humanity. Like, I believe that we would really do these things, and I believe that if we created some sort of tactical, machine to combat this invader, that it would be like this, that it would be like, it would literally be on a battery. Like, it would literally have like this limited ability and limited resource, because it would be something that was like an act of desperation. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be fleshed out. Like, it's not going to be, something that's like one-on-one or on equal grounds with these invaders. Like, the angels felt like such a heavy, like, aggressive entity. You know what I mean? Like, it felt very desperate. Like, that's just a great, like, the stakes in Evangelion are perfect to me. And that's why I was so sold in the show. And then as it kind of grows, to me, I just see it as like, I think it really turns into like a Shinji coming of age tale. Ultimately, I think that's sort of what happens. And even like having seen the movie, I'm just like, the movie, I think, tries to make up for what a lot of people hated about the ending, where there was no payoff.
Like everything.
Yeah, like, I think the problem with the ending is that there's just not the payoff you're expecting. You know what I mean? Like, you're expecting, like, a sort of final battle, and, obviously, it just sort of, like, totally turns on its heels and does not do that at all.
Well, and it doesn't explain anything either.
Right.
But I felt like the fact that they thought that ending could work is the most pretentious bullshit.
Well, to be fair, I think a lot of it had to do with budget cuts.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there was, like, parts that looked like... I was like, okay, you can't tell me it's a style choice to have non-animated frames that are done with, like, fucking Crayola.
Yeah.
Freaking get him, Celina.
I feel like they could have done some. I don't know. You know what? Cowboy Bebop they ended up running out of budget and their show was getting canceled after 26 episodes. Guess what? They figured out a way to end it. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Yeah, I didn't know that actually. They were really. That was how Bebop ended?
Yeah, but at least. Yeah. But the thing is, with Bebop, it wasn't as complex of a story.
I feel like Watanabe had that already, though. Like. Yeah, you know, I feel like.
They would have had a longer runtime.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It didn't do that well in Japan initially.
Wow. Okay. That's at
least from my sources. If I'm wrong.
Well, because Bebop.
Then I'm wrong. I don't know.
No, but Bebop. See, that's impressive, and actually, that makes
it's a very Western show.
That makes me want to criticize Evangelion a little bit more, though, because yeah, Bebop did such a good job wrapping it up. You know what I mean? And it really felt very.
But it didn't have as much going on as Neon Genesis does, so that I can't imagine wrapping this show up and not having the budget to do it. That'd be really hard. But they could have done something else. They could have just had everyone die. Best ending ever.
It's funny because you see in one of the next episode previews, I think it's for episode 24 or episode 23, you actually see storyboard versions of stuff that ended up in End of Evangelion.
I forgot about that. You're right. Well, and that's
so it's like they wanted to do that, but
that's why once Celina watches the first movie, I think you'll have a different take.
Well, and I don't know what leads up to it, but I know End of Evangelion, I'm pretty sure everyone just ends up dying at the very end. You know, Devilman Crybaby kind of scenario.
It has a very weak ending.
Well, not the show, but the movie?
Yeah.
It has a weak ending, too.
Let me cut in and say I kind of disagree with you, Tim, because I wouldn't call it weak. When I first watched the movie, and I've told Celina this many times, like, I was still very riding the Evangelion train kind of hard. I was pretty hot for it still. The movie exhausted me. The movie was literally like, I gotta get away from this because I was like, this is too much. It was just like, it was a roller coaster. And to me, the ending of the movie wasn't like, I don't know. I didn't think it was weak, but it still wasn't final. Like, it very clearly, like, I know why there's another one after that, and I haven't seen that one yet, because it is still, like, waiting for more, and I don't know where they're gonna go or where they could go after that, but, like, I don't know. I just wouldn't say, I personally didn't feel like it was weak. I just felt like it was trying, it was like it was honestly probably a cliffhanger where there wasn't really need for a cliffhanger, and so I felt really tired after the end of the movie, because it was just like, I don't know, it takes a lot out of you. Like, the movie is, Tim, how did you feel about the movie? Like, how did you honestly feel about what you got out of the movie? And I mean, we don't want to talk about it too much, because I know with Celina not having seen the movie, you know, I want to probably stick to, like, what all three of us have seen, but still, like, how do you feel, like, just generally about the movie's overall plot?
I felt that it was, it did some things right, but it was mostly underwhelming, and like I said, I felt it had a very weak ending.
I don't want to watch it if there isn't another steamy scene between Misato and Ryoji, because that shit was tight.
I forgot about that.
But also, I have a huge crush on Kaji. He's just so cute, and he water his plant and accept his death.
Like a good anime side character.
He's like such a sleazeball, but he like cares about Misato so much, and I really liked his character.
It actually, that scene that you're talking about, the steamy scene, is actually kind of funny for me.
Why is that?
Because there, in the dub that I was watching,
oh, God.
at one point, Misato goes, "No, don't put that there."
Oh, she says that in the sub too.
Oh, does she? Okay.
I very much remember that. That was funny.
I did such a good job scrubbing that episode from my memory, and I'm just so glad you brought it back for me now.
It's gonna be in my brain forever, and I don't want it to be any other way.
You're welcome, Charlie. Think about that tonight.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, I honestly, like, I don't know, Tim, what other, let's kind of, like, I don't know, let's take it back a little bit. Like, what are your other, I don't know, what are your other pros for the show in general?
I really like the thematic use of Fly Me to the Moon.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
I agree.
And I like that they keep it relevant by having a different cover for the ending for every episode.
Yeah, I agree. I love that touch too.
Let's see, what else? It was I like how it goes, because when I first started watching it, I was like, okay, so it's 95 that it was made. So it's tropey now, but at the time it wasn't very tropey. And then it just goes into this whole thing where it's like, okay, so here's where you thought it was going, but now everybody's turning out differently than you would have expected based on the stereotypes that have been put before. And that's partially why I feel like it was revolutionary, was because it did things that you weren't expecting it to do. And not that subverting expectations is always good, but when you do it in a fresh way that doesn't suck, it's pretty good.
Right. What do you think, Celina? What are your pros?
I like big robots. And, what else do I like? I like really well animated fight scenes.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I like stuff that makes me feel depressed. Overall, I liked it a lot. I knew I was prepared for the ending. Like, I was prepared to be very disappointed, but a shred of me was like, maybe I'll see something in it that, not everybody else saw. No, not in the least. It was, honestly, out of every anime I've ever seen, probably one of the worst endings. And I've seen Vampire Knight, so...
Yeah, I was extremely disappointed with the ending. I don't remember being that disappointed with an ending and having so many questions with an ending since Corpse Party.
I actually had to, drag myself through the last 2 episodes. I watched them all the way through. I didn't divert my attention. I thought, maybe something cool will happen. And then I was like, no.
Well, to be fair, something cool did happen. I would actually love to see the alternate reality version of Evangelion, where Misato is the school teacher and Shinji is just, you guys know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, oh my goodness.
I would love to watch that.
Yeah, because how does it happen? It's like, they sort of they play it off for a split second like it's all a coma dream, don't they?
Kinda, sorta.
Yeah, kinda.
But I'm like, hey, if they can do an AU for Attack on Titan, why can't they do one for Evangelion?
What's funny is I remember when that happened, and for a minute I almost felt relieved because I almost felt like, oh, okay, it was a coma dream. That's
no, honestly,
not
that
as
would have
bad.
pissed me off even more if they played the whole it was just a dream shit. I don't like that. It was all Asuka's dream when she's in a coma.
Yeah.
And then she wakes up to a big kersploosh, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Nothing screams we have a movie budget now, and this isn't on syndicated TV, so we get to be as edgy as possible, like that scene. Oh man.
This is Japan, and this is how we portray our 14-year-olds. Get used to it.
America. Oh my goodness. I don't know. It's just, I think part of the reason why I didn't hate the ending as much is because, like you were mentioning, Tim, the way the show starts out is like a mech show where there's fighting and there's conflict, where it's like robots beat up bad guy, but then it slowly kind of turns into this more emotional, less expected, okay, everybody's kind of doing different things than you expected, basically. And we start getting backstories and we start getting deeper intentions. that's why I started to get on board with like the train. Like I was like, okay, if this is like Shinji's coming of age, okay, I get that. Like, I don't think it's done eloquently, don't get me wrong, but in the latter like a third of the show, maybe even just the final quarter, I do think they start turning it into like the Shinji's mental breakdown, show. And like, so then I like, again, I think it's done poorly. Like, I don't think it was executed very well, but I do kind of appreciate the way it turns into, this is Shinji's coming of age, and this is his, like, it becomes his character study almost. Like, for a show that does, what I think a show does a really good job of, like, actually diving into their characters and developing the characters, it then suddenly becomes very, like, I think, spotlight on him. So I guess I just say that because that's why, to me, I didn't hate the ending as much, because I felt like I was letting them sort of justify it based on that a little bit more. Like, I was letting them get away with that a little bit more, I guess, if that makes sense.
But there was like there was episodes before the ending, obviously, where, they'd take each character and like really delve into their minds. Like, there was like the whole, you find out Asuka's backstory, and then you like get to watch her mental trauma through like this weird, repetitive, like echoey kind of stuff going on.
I loved that, yeah.
I thought it was a little annoying, to be honest. Like, I love delving into mental illness as much as the next guy, but I thought that the way that they did it was like they were trying to be really artsy and cool and like different about it, and it just didn't rub me the right way. I just found it kind of boring and repetitive.
How did you feel about it, Tim?
I felt I never really had a problem with it, but it did make me question. That's like, when stuff like that started happening, that's when I started questioning, did this show run into budget problems?
Yeah.
Because they're very, like you said, they're trying to be artsy, but it's very much using the same animation over and over again.
Right.
And
that's not a bad take. I would dare say that's a hot take.
We need like a hot take alarm or like a sound effect for Wes to put in. But continue, Tim.
But yeah, so yeah, I thought it was I liked that they were delving into the psyche of the characters and giving us, additional information and backstory and stuff like that. But the way they did it was not very appealing.
No, that's kind of how I felt about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I don't know. I'm not trying to play devil's advocate, but I do think it's probably good if I do play devil's advocate. And then at the same time, I genuinely do feel some opposite things of you guys, which is good. But like, while I definitely agree that it kind of sucks, right? Because it's like, it's another example of like trying to make art that is ultimately like mitigated, like, it's trimming off the sides of the vision for the sake of money and the sake of like, budget issues. It's like totally sucks. And obviously we see it all the time in like games and movies and all sorts of stuff like in those genres. But like the other side of it though too is like, and this is not an original idea that I thought of. This is something I heard from another podcast that I had listened to at some point about Evangelion. But there are a lot of things that Evangelion like started in terms of like artistic direction, like tropes that sort of I think have carried on to modern day, and I think it's across all media. Like for example, the whole like the opening of every Eva, like the intro sequence where you have like the stark like text on like a plain background where there's like the smash cut of like just cutting to all these like different words and stuff, and then with the fast-paced action sequences in between. Like it's not like totally the most original thing in the world, but I think it was something that they like pioneered, I guess, in like an aggressive sense. And that's one example. Like I think that there are a lot of artistic choices though that were made, and I think were made really intentionally, that have affected a lot of media, especially anime. But I think it's affected a lot of media even too beyond just anime, and that's one of the things. That's just the thing about it as well that I don't know. Like I was really on board for them to do to do that sort of stuff, that artsy stuff. So it didn't rub me the wrong way, as much, because I don't know, I guess I got into it too,
Yeah.
I guess I was just drinking the Kool-Aid maybe a little bit too much on that. But
Yeah, because when you and I initially talked about it, I expected you to vehemently hate it like everybody else seems to.
yeah.
And like I did once I came to it. I was really disappointed. But I mean, the show was so good that I'm willing to forgive. I'm willing to forgive the ending a little bit because I enjoyed the ride to the ending.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll watch those first 24 episodes again.
And oh my god, don't even get me started on the OP. That opening song is
Yeah.
top 10 best anime songs of all time.
Yeah, Cruel Angel's Thesis is pretty good.
Ah.
I saw a video on YouTube of a guy actually playing it on a church organ.
Oh, okay.
Oh my goodness. You'll have to send that to us, because I would actually love to watch that too.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find it again.
See, that's the thing about this show, though, is like there's so many. I don't know. There's so many incredible moments, and there are so many like emotional moments within the show, within the episodes, with even like the more self-contained episodes. Like so many things done well. Like I mentioned this to Celina before, but I forget what it's called exactly, but the episode where Asuka and Shinji have to sync up to take on the angel that is like taking root in like the ocean or whatever, and they go through like the whole sequence of like like the DDR game they basically have to play and stuff, and like the whole execution of that episode and the way you like get a look into their dynamic and what it does for their relationship, like that stuff I love,
Well, and I will say, like, that episode made it really apparent too, and I will give Asuka the one thing that I really liked about her character, because when I say I hate Asuka, it's not because like I hate the way they wrote her. I think she's annoying, but like I love the way they wrote her, and I loved how easily her pride was hurt. Like everything she did to get attention, and then you come to find out the relationship she had with her mother,
mm-hmm.
and you're like, well, obviously, I mean, it had to be something like that. But I love that once they find out that Rei would probably be better to sync up with Shinji because they sync up better, and then Asuka gets fucking pissed and then is more devoted to doing it right.
Yeah. Tim, were you familiar with, like, because this was something that was kind of between the lines, and I can't remember if I had to actually just look it up to really, like, get it, or if it was kind of more explicit towards the end of the show, but the whole dynamic between the Eva units themselves and, like, the mothers of the individuals piloting them, like, the way that 01 is, like, somehow fused with Shinji's mom. Like, did you get all that?
Yeah, I picked up on that.
And yeah, that's like, I don't know, like I enjoyed that sort of dynamic too. Like I don't know, like it's just weird. That's part of the whole like way that this show did stuff that I don't think has been done before in terms of like mech anime, how, and then it kind of created tropes after, like, yes, mother and father issues, like mother-son, father-son issues, like I think those are tropey, but the way that they kind of do it, like with Gendo and Shinji, and then like Asuka and her mom and stuff, but then just like the other, even with Shinji's mom and like Gendo's relationship with her.
When Gendo's just like a psychopath.
Yeah.
Like, the man's got no feelings.
I don't know, I found that interesting though, at least. Like I just felt like it was something, it was new, it kept my interest, it kept me, I wasn't expecting a lot of stuff, and that's what I think I liked about Evangelion, was a lot of moments that kept me on my toes too. One other thing I wanted to ask you, Tim, and obviously I'm asking Celina as well, but if there was one thing about the show you could change, and that wasn't the ending, genuinely.
I was gonna say, besides the ending?
I know, so before Celina like interjects like violently, what would it be? Like if there was one aspect of the show that you would want to sort of alter or, change, what would you change?
Pen would have some sort of significance.
Oh,
Agreed.
I like that.
He was an absolute unit.
I mean, go on. What would you do with it?
I don't know. I honestly don't know what I'd do with it, but I'd have him have some sort of significance. He had personality, even though he was just a penguin that hung out around the house. And I wish they could have done something with him.
I love the song that comes in every time they're at her house. Oh my gosh, it cracks me up. It's like and it's such like a good it's a good reliever, you know what I mean? Like it's such a great like downer, I guess, like in the middle of like everything crazy happening, then they just like go home and just like the regular antics with pen and freaking beer.
I think for me, I wish they would. I wish that they would have delved into some more stuff, like the mothers and the robots being one and the same. There's a lot of other stuff that I feel like they would just say and then not really talk about, like Lilith and Adam.
Yeah.
And there was times where I'm like, okay, so is this dude, is this Adam or Lilith that I am looking at right now? Because they're not really telling me.
Right.
They're like one hand, they're like, oh, this is Adam. They say it's Adam this whole time, and then the one angel kid, I'm trying to remember his name, who's totally gay for Shinji. He's like, oh, it was Lilith the whole time. I was like, oh, excuse me.
I think he's Kawaru, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I mean, I actually really, a lot of people complain like, oh, they just throw him in there. I'm like, no, that was like the logical conclusion to the angels showing up, because the angels were like learning how to become more and more human. So obviously the last one would be like a humanoid angel.
Well, and technically, I don't know. This was something that I kind of had to look up. But Tim, I don't know if you got this or not, but actually, he was the second to last angel technically. Mm-hmm. And like, did you get what the actual last angel was, Tim?
What do you mean by the actual last angel?
I don't know if it's something that's kind of alluded to in the movie itself, but like, basically, humanity is the last angel. Like, that's part of why the whole human instrumentality project is a thing, because it's really bizarre. And actually, this kind of segues into like what I was going to say I wanted to change about the show, is that, and Celina mentioned this at the beginning, where like the Christians, like Judeo-Christian, like, oh, I don't even, just like the symbolism, that's what I mean to say, that the way it's used, I wish they would have been more explicit towards the end of the show about what the connections they were trying to draw, because it actually, I think it's more, like, I think it could have been more interesting, and I think rather than just a set dressing, like, there's actually worthwhile content there. Like, I don't know, it's definitely a bummer that they just said, the guy who, you know, and I wish we had his name on the ready, but, you know, the director was like, more than, I just want to make it edgy and sound cool. You know, because I think there's actually like some very interesting like lore there. And after I watched the movie, I had to look this up, and it's been so freaking long since I've seen it that I don't remember it exactly very well, but basically it's like the Lilith and Adam dichotomy. Like, Lilith, you have like the Adam and Eve scenario where some planets in the universe of Evangelion are inhabited by like an Adam offspring that creates life, and that's where the angels come from, or you have like a Lilith offspring, and that's where humans come from. And the conflict with Evangelion is that there's like a Lilith egg on like Adam. It's so, see, that's the problem with the show too, is it's so convoluted, and like I had to look this up in a video on YouTube that was like unrelated to the show to explain it to me, and that's my problem with it, is it's like, it just doesn't, it sucks because I wish they would have been better about explaining this. But like, basically the angels are trying to come and down to earth to like wipe everything out, because they're trying to get to the egg that was left that like shouldn't be there. So like basically, and from like what I remember and what I understand, it's like it's a situation of like trading places where like the wrong the wrong seed is like on the wrong planet, and so humanity is actually the invader on planet Earth.
Oh,
And like you,
see, I didn't pick that up because I didn't look up any explanation videos. I was just like, whoa, there's a lot going on here, and I'm just gonna pretend like I know what's going on the whole show.
well, the movie, like, and honestly, like, for those of you who've seen it, for those of you who understand it better than I do, please, I apologize for, like, if I just if I'm poorly explaining, because I know I kind of am, but, like, you have to forgive me because it's, like, genuinely really convoluted, but, yeah, like, honestly, Celina, like, in the movie, they kind of start getting into that, and it's kind of clearer, but still, like, how much did you glean of that, Tim, from watching it, or did you look up anything beyond the movie to kind of understand it more?
No.
So did you pick up on any of that?
No.
Yeah, me neither.
So yes, that's what I would change. I would honestly, like, I don't know, they were just trying so hard to be like, and again, maybe actually this just was another like budget thing. Maybe it just came down to, like, they wanted to build this world and they got way out of hand, and so ultimately, like, they just didn't put these details in there more explicitly. But I don't think it's, like, Evangelion, it's hard to read between the lines because on one hand you have this symbolism that is just supposed to be set dressing, and then on the other hand it's like, well, they are actually trying to tell some sort of alien story. And this is what exhausted me. This is why... like, I found this out, and then I got to the end of the movie, and I was like, alright, I'm done, because, like, you were trying to tell me that this is the world, that this was what was happening in this world, in this universe, and I'm just like, yeah, I need a break, and that's why I didn't go back. That's why I still haven't seen the second movie, and I don't know if I ever will. Like, it's been almost a year now. Like, I think it was September when I watched the movie, and I had officially finished it, and I don't know, I thought I would want to go back. I thought I would want to, like, explore it again. But I just didn't. I haven't gravitated back towards it. What's funny is I kind of thought to myself, I was like, oh boy, here we go. We're going to talk about it. It's going to get me all fired up to watch it again because that's how I am. But, like, honestly, like, at the end of this conversation, I don't think I'm going to really want to go back and watch it again anyway now.
I still will, just because I'm a stubborn bitch. And I'll watch shows like Naruto out of spite. So I'm just like, yeah, it's gonna take a while for me to get through all this stuff. But I'm like, what's a couple movies?
I definitely think you should watch the movie. At least the first one.
Charlie, you keep saying the first and second movie. What? Maybe I'm in the dark here, but I thought there was only just the end of Evangelion.
Well,
no, there's three. Isn't there 3 movies, and then there's the 4 Rebuild movies?
Well, if you were paying attention at my very eloquent intro, Tim, where I very plainly stated everything we need to know. I'm just kidding. I'm just trying to be a funny jerk. But see, on the wiki, basically it has End of Evangelion is one movie, and then Death and Rebirth is another in the quote-unquote revival. Like, both of these came out in 97.
So there's 2 movies.
Yeah, so that's why. And I thought on Netflix one of them was named differently too. Like, I think there's like Neon Genesis True Ending 2.0, something weird. It's like got a weird ending or a weird name. But yeah, then beyond that are the Rebuild. And honestly too, I thought there were more than this. Like, I actually thought there was more than just 2 and then the 4 Rebuilds. So like, it's tough. Like, I don't know. I honestly couldn't tell you how many there actually are beyond this. Like, there could even be more than I'm missing, but this is just what I'm taking from Wikipedia in our very like light research section of it. But yeah, I swear on Netflix though there is a second movie.
Yeah, there's 2 movies on there.
Yeah, there's Death and Rebirth, and then there's the End of Evangelion.
Yeah, it looks like Death and Rebirth came out first.
So did you just watch Evangelion, or the End of Evangelion, Tim? Because that's just the one I watched.
Yeah, I read that Death and Rebirth was just a rehash of the series, and then half of
that's
the
what I heard too.
End of Evangelion.
Oh, okay. Then maybe I'm misunderstanding, because that might, maybe that's where the confusion is then.
Also, I heard that the Rebuilds are trash, but
I've heard that too.
I wouldn't know. I've not watched them.
I read about them a little bit. I guess they sort of, they changed the plot slightly. Like, they actually take, like, Kawaru, for example, he plays a larger role earlier in the plot, for example. But I don't. It's been so long. I glazed over it too.
At this point, I think they should just accept the fact that the ending sucked and that they can't fix it. And even End of Evangelion, I can't say whether or not that has a better ending because I haven't seen it, but I will watch it, and I'm sure I'll like the ending a lot better than the show, even if I don't like it.
Yeah. Tim, did you feel like there was payoff in the end of the movie? Like, how did I know you said you didn't like the ending of the movie, and you said it was like shallow or or weak. That's what you said. But like, I don't know. How did you feel about the payoff, at least?
I think the movie itself was okay. I liked the aspect of the SEAL group coming after the Nerve, and which, fun story, in the Netflix dub, apparently nobody can decide how to pronounce Nerve.
Oh jeez, how? Oh.
Like, some people pronounce it Nerve. The few episodes, I watched a few episodes of the Netflix dub, and then I rewatched them in the 90s dub. But apparently sometimes it's pronounced Noive or Nerve.
Man, Noive.
Noive and Nerve were two of my favorites.
I almost just said, like, my reaction was to say, Wes, put the Noid on the screen right now. But
oh my god.
That we can't do that, so it won't work, but...
But, no, I thought that it was okay. It was... I feel like it explained more as an ending, but it still didn't explain a lot of the stuff, and... just without spoiling it, I can't say too much about how I felt about it, but
yeah, that's fair.
Unrelated, but we're looking at the Wikipedia page right now, and there's a couple manga adaptations of the series, and it looks like one of those is called Petite Eva Evangelion at School. So I think if you read it, you'll probably get what you want there, Tim.
I'm
you wanted to
so
expand on
curious.
the
I might have to look that up.
Yeah, it's called Petite Eva.
It says it's a super deformed style parody series based on Neon Genesis Evangelion. Thank you, Wikipedia! So I guess it's a parody. I would be very curious to know how that goes. I don't know. I also see, but that's the thing, if it's super deformed style, I don't know if I'd like it as much, because I love the art direction of Eva.
Oh yeah. Well, I just love 90s style anime in general.
Yeah, oh, totally. So it just hits me right in that sweet spot. Tim, what are your other thoughts, though? Like, what else do you want to share? Because I know you were the one, you were really chomping at the bit, too. I just want to make sure, like, we really hit all the stuff that you were passionate about, too,
Yeah, I think I've hit on everything that I wanted to hit on, without going, like, super in-depth. But, I think one of my favorite things about this show is, and I know I told this story to Celina via text at one point, but there was a panel that had Anno, the creator of Evangelion, the director, and somebody, like, it came time for audience interaction, and somebody was talking to him. They were saying to him that, the ending didn't explain anything, and we never got answers to this or that, and none of this makes sense, and nothing happened, and blah, blah, blah. And once the guy was done, Anno just leans into the microphone and he goes, "Too bad."
Oh, that's amazing. I love that so much.
Too bad.
What a great middle finger to the community that at one point, like, didn't they, like, graffiti this Gainax studio because they were and send death threats? It's very well deserved.
People
too.
take their anime very seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, I get that, though. I get that, too.
I don't know if I'd send death threats.
I wouldn't say, I mean, I don't get the death threats, not what I mean. I just mean, like,
yeah, I
don't
understand that part.
That's some real, like, Steven Universe fan base type of shit.
Well, before we wrap up, what do we any final thoughts? You want to go through like final thoughts real quick? Like maybe like last like hot take. Like what you feel like? I don't know. In the pantheon of great anime, like where does it stand for you? Like Celina, you go first.
I wouldn't put it in my top anything, but I thought it was very enjoyable, and I think everybody should have to watch it so that they can have something that they love being taken away from them. I think that everybody should have to face that kind of disappointment. It's a part of life, and it's something we all have to experience so we can enjoy greater things.
Tim, what about you?
I would put it in my top 100. I would say watch the first 24 episodes.
No, you gotta watch the ending so that you can feel my pain.
Well, yeah. Yeah, there's that. But, I mean, watch the first 24 episodes, don't expect an ending, and you'll be fine.
It's not a bad idea.
But let's be real. Episodes 25 and 26 are a train wreck. Like, you can't look away. You know what I mean? Like, don't tell anybody they can't watch the list.
I'm not telling them they can't. I'm just recommending they don't.
Well, again, honestly, I'm not trying to be like black sheep over here, but I would, at this point in my career of watching anime, and I will let this be totally subject to change, Eva would at least be in my top 20, and dare I say would probably make my top 10. But that's because of a few
You don't watch
things.
much anime.
Well, that's true. Like, I haven't watched a ton of anime, and like
We're working on that.
a lot of the anime that I already try to like pick and choose anime pretty, like, you know, particularly. So there's that to consider for sure. But the other side of it is like, it's that 90s aesthetic, 90s anime aesthetic that I adore. It's that art style that I adore. It's the world building and the lore and just like enough of like the artistic like vision that I really, in the emotion behind a lot of the choices and a lot of the character interactions, and there's just a lot of moments in Eva that are enough for me to really cling to, because I remember when I watched it and I was watching through it, you know, prior to the ending, like ending notwithstanding, like I was just really invested in the world, and to me that is why I enjoy it. Like maybe Eva, see, a lot of people compare Eva to Star Wars in the West because Evangelion is such like a cornerstone in Japanese culture, whereas like Star Wars is such a touchstone in like the American culture and Western culture. So like how fitting that now in the modern era, Star Wars now has a horrible ending that everybody hates, and Eva also does too, you know what I mean? So like maybe like Star Wars for me, I like will always love it, and it will always be important to me, even though the ending or where it's ended up kind of ultimately sucked balls. You know what I mean? So like that's how I feel about Eva though, honestly. I don't know.
Moral of the story is I want to cosplay as Misato still. And I want to go to the Evangelion Museum. And
I would love to go to that, man.
That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. I feel like I've said a lot of bad things about the show, but I did genuinely enjoy it a whole lot.
Yeah.
I'd have the figures, you know?
Yeah. Unless you've seen some of them, a lot of naked ones of teenage people's...
Just give me 01. I want Eva 01, man.
Oh, you can get a humidifier with 01 on there.
Oh, hot dog.
We'll Google it after this.
I know what's going on my Amazon wish list immediately. Well,
I want a Gendo Akari essential oil diffuser.
It glows. The glasses glow in the dark.
Yeah.
I love that so much. Tim, do you want to let the people know where they can find us?
Yeah, you can find us on the YouTube channel you're currently watching this on, I believe.
Heck yeah, baby.
But no, if you're hearing this some other way and you don't know about us, God help you. We are T&C Gaming Times. It's Tim, Charlie, and Celina. And we play games, and occasionally, like now, we talk about anime.
Or we talk about games. Like, leave that door open, please, because there's a big part of me that still wants to do this again about Final Fantasy VII, so, like, let's just not let that fall off the table.
Can Dr. Phil be on the table? Because I really like to discuss him.
Could you honestly imagine if we did that? That would be so funny. So I
I will
guess we gotta keep it
concede.
broad.
I will concede Dr. Phil if we can also do To Catch a Predator.
Okay, absolutely. They'll be the same episode.
Oh
Yes.
man. I kind of see. I love this. I love how open-ended we leave this. Oh my gosh. Well, anything else, Tim?
Nope, I think I'm tapped out here.
All right.
Same.
Well, thanks everybody for watching. Like, comment, subscribe.
Give us your hot take.
Yes. And we'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, you guys.